Like the formless doesn't have any form of its own. It can express as anything. And part of my theme, part of my blueprint for this incarnation is to allow for a high degree of variability within my expression so that people will never be able to say what I was and what I am. Because
but if they say it, they could, and it's
they could.
That's their.
Yes, but if the people that are sincere and that they study my life and my work, they'll end up not understanding, not being able to categorize, and thus then that's a great teaching. That's a great awakening.
But you're evolving as well. I mean, whatever. I mean, there's more.
So that would be the third aspect of my incarnation, I would say. So the first would be service to others in the form of being an articulate teacher that is able to distill different paths and help people wherever they're at on the journey. Leave something both for mainstream as well as for the wanderers, the seekers, the adepts that really want these higher, finer knowledges. Second would be to be an expression of freedom, rebellion, integration, balance, weirdness, whatever it might be, however it shows up. And third would be my own evolution.
Yeah, talk about that.
Adding to my native level, which only entered into being really a few years ago. That became more prominent as I started, as I undid a lot of these knots, those sort of man-made, created ego knots and programming. I reached a certain level where now the journey started to include that third element, which is that more deliberately I am able to, from a native state of where I come from before this life, grow using this life. So, example of that would be that, like my native state, I would describe as a high or late sixth density state, which is still individuated. There's still a soul, a sense of an I am,
and a separateness in form, anyway. Yeah.
Yes. So, well, it's deeply suffused with an awareness and understanding of oneness at that level. Like there's a great sense of unity. It's like you're flooded with light and union and oneness. But it is still understood from the vantage point of an individuated self, even though that's a group consciousness.
You're still looking out of those eyes, you're saying.
You could say it in that way, but we're talking a totally non-physical
we're talking about
reality,
expanded,
group consciousness identity.
Okay.
So it's not so much through the eyes, but I get what you're saying.
I get what you're saying,
yeah,
too.
It's through a self, you could say. It's filtered
the
through...
expandedness of being.
Yes.
Okay.
As Ra states in the book, for example, is still we are Ra. Even at our stage of evolution, knowing the Creator as clearly as we do, knowing that all is one, still to this date, we are Ra. There still is identity left, a sense of memory, a sense of... And a lot of beings hold themselves at a high sixth density state to be able to still maintain individuated thought so that they can teach and be of service to creation. So that threshold between sixth and seventh density is kind of the threshold between looking at creation and the different evolutions and the past timelines of the past selves, functioning as a higher self to our previous selves, being available to creation, to the calling for help and support and clarity from beings of all kinds of civilizations. And seventh density being really the turning away from creation or manifestation to the Creator itself. And at the expense of individuated thought, at the expense of memory, at the expense of individual nature. And so in seventh density, that's the journey to really becoming the awareness of all that is and losing oneself in the process.
That's your next step.
That's what's been marinating more recently for me. And then eighth density would be where the ocean of allness disappears back into the one original, infinite, indescribable perfection, absolutely devoid of manifestation of any kind.
And do you think out of that ocean there becomes an individuation as an expression of the ocean, like a Jesus or a Buddha, where they, even though you are individuated, you're not, that's the illusion, or maybe that's what you're calling sixth density.
Yeah, then at that state, the being is the Creator, meaning it's the most humble servant you can imagine. And the most humble servant means it can look very arrogant. It can look whatever way. It can look very loving. It can look very this. It's so humble that it no longer maintains individuated thought. It is completely run by infinite intelligence. The biases have been cleared. There is no sense of wanting from this world.
Are people getting this, at least what you're saying, sixth density? When you're in your groups, you're talking and they're... or is there still so much? I mean, I guess for some people there is, but do you find that a few people are the light bulb is going on?
Yes, yes. They recognize at deep levels what I'm speaking of.
And do you think this in 2035 there's this mass awakening where the collective will get? Is that what you're saying?
No.
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 It's okay if they don't. They don't.
No. When I say a happy planet or an awakened civilization by 2035, I mean that relatively speaking.
Okay.
I don't mean we're all going to be like Buddha or Krishna. That's not in our books. That's not relevant in this density. So there will be wanderers, which is the dual side of my task of teaching. Is one is to deliver something to the masses of each level. I'm actually wanting to create a school that follows these densities at this point.
Nice.
So that whoever you are, whether you want to just learn how to clear your beliefs and manifest dimension, or you want to know who you are at the soul level and why you came here and what's most appropriate for you to be of service to, or you want to become a complete mirror sage and realize that there is no individual I and merge with all that is, or you want to realize the one infinite absolute beyond that, that there's an inclusive school for people of all levels there with facilitation and classes and understandings that is delivered. Because if you look at anything in our society, for any other field, we have a structured school. You don't go tell your kid when they're 4 years old. It's really important that you learn math, but I have no clue where you can learn it. Just go to India for 6 months. Go find whatever books you can find, maybe, possibly. You know, we send them to school because that's where you learn everything.
Yeah.
With spirituality, there's so much waste of time and energy and seeking expenditure because...
And dogmas from the past.
And dogmas from the past, exactly. So there is no clear, modern, universally, cosmically backed up school system for spirituality. It's all, as I see spirituality on Earth, it's in need of a massive upgrade, and it's largely culture. What we call spirituality is largely cultural expressions of the mystical. But nothing wrong with that. There's beautiful mystical traditions and cultures, but it is culturally tainted, meaning it's not clear science. It's not the science of spirituality.
Yeah.
It's not backed up usually by the way that the ETs in the higher levels actually all correspond with each other. So I want to create a school that allows for that entire progression so that people, regardless of where they're at, if they suddenly feel the desire to go to a higher density understanding, they can do that. And that school is totally honoring of wherever they're at.
The problem with spirituality, even on that level, is that people judge themselves. If they want to play in a lower density, they judge themselves. They say, I should be here.
Exactly.
And
yeah, so that's something that somehow I want to be implicit in that school, that does not happen as much as possible.
Yeah, because we have to indulge our desires, like you say.
Yeah, you can't suppress them.
Yeah.
You have to.
So it's okay to play in.
Oh, it's totally okay to play. And there's a difference between believing you need things or want things and crave things and play. Like in fact, you can only really play when you're already when you're already more free from the biases and the wants and the needs and the lack beliefs that you grew up with. So there's a difference between the state of wanting things or being playful. Like playful is already a freer state. I wouldn't term it in the same way. Definitely playfulness is relevant for where we're at and where we're going.
Would you say the ETs that you've met that are on playing in how, I mean, if you want to relate something about like their level of interaction?
Yes, the ones that I'm connected to the most internally are of higher densities, and so playfulness there is very different. To a lot of human beings, it would look very robotic, and it doesn't feel robotic, but from the outside in, when you don't have the vibration to back it up, it would seem so like precise and accurate and mathematical and balanced that it seems like these beings have no fun. But they know the pain of fun as we have it, and they know the bliss and the joy of that heightened supreme balance that they've attained. And in that, there lies that love and that joy, which cannot be compared to what we call fun in our veiled state. What we call fun is simply relief from suppression, usually. It's relief from believing we're limited. If you have an unlimited view or a near unlimited view, so suffused with love, light, and unity, you would look different at fun. Like you would be at bliss. So there wouldn't be that like, let's just have fun. Why are we so serious?
Yeah, let's
It's
have
not
some
like,
beers and watch the ball game.
right. It just doesn't arise there. But there's no judgment of that from that state either. It's just that it's such an involved state that the concept of fun is different. But there's still humor. At these levels, there's still humor.
The ETs, or what, I don't know what they are, but I get the sense of beings that exist in color forms and colors and the interaction of different layers of color and the coming together of different strands as a sort of a creative exchange that I don't know where I get that from, but that's a kind of sense that's
Nice. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Sounds very fourth and fifth density.
Yeah, I love the fourth and fifth
That's
density.
good.
I like to play in creation.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. So, but